How to sell out your group coaching program using a sales funnel. That is this week's topic on becoming an online sales queen. And if this is your first time finding us, welcome. I am super excited that you're here, that you found us. And if you have listened to the podcast or watched this podcast over on YouTube, welcome back. I'm very glad to have you back with us. This topic this week is a really juicy one of my favorites, actually. When I saw it coming up on our podcast schedule, I was super excited to talk about this with you, especially because I think this is a subject that really lends itself well to this time of year, because the way that most of you would think about selling out your high ticket group would be through a live launch. So something like a 3-day challenge, a 5-day challenge, maybe a live workshop, maybe a series of workshops. But either way, we believe that the only way to sell a group offer is to show up live. And that is not the case, okay? What I'm going to share with you today is how I've managed to build multiple funnels that create the same sense of trust that a challenge does, create the same sense of community and FOMO, because let's be honest, in a challenge, when the challenge attendees start seeing other girls in the challenge join your offer, that sense of FOMO really does kick in. And there's a kind of like a pack mentality of, well, if she's in and she's in and she's in, then I've got to be in, because nobody wants to miss out. And there's also that sense of safety in numbers. So there is a real benefit to doing a live launch. It lends itself really, really well to selling your group. So if we were going to build a funnel to sell your group coaching program, we want to build a funnel that is most likely to replicate the same feelings that a live launch challenge would. Now, what are those feelings? It's the feeling of community, of trust, of getting a sense of like your energy, how you show up and teach. Sitting in a Zoom room with you or watching you on 5 days of live streams is the nearest anybody's ever going to get to being inside your group without being inside your group, okay? It's going to give them a real feel of what it's like to work with you. So when we're designing a funnel to sell your group, we need to create a funnel that gives the nearest set of feelings and emotions and confidence in your offer that a live launch would, okay? Now, what's the best way to do that? It isn't through a PDF funnel. It is definitely not that you should go off and create an ebook, however good it is, however many pages it's got, however valuable it is. It's not through an ebook. It's not through a PDF. It's not through a checklist. Those things are great, but they're never going to build that sense of trust and community that you need to build if you're enrolling a high ticket group. Now, when I say high ticket, I'm talking about, 5K and above. If you've got a program, you could say 3K and above, yeah? So if you've got a program that's like 3 to 5K or more to enroll into, you definitely are not going to sell it using a PDF funnel, okay? So if you've got a PDF funnel and it's not working, please trust me. I've built hundreds of funnels for myself and for clients, and I know that a PDF funnel is the least effective when it comes to selling out your group, okay? So I'm not saying that to piss on your chips or anything, to make you feel bad about your funnel, but I don't want you out there using a strategy that's not effective, and I can tell you now that is not effective, okay? So what you're going to do is rebuild your funnel using what I'm about to share with you, okay? If you want to build a funnel that replicates a live launch, then the best way to do it would be to evergreen your last live launch. So what I mean by that is, if I was going to do a 5-day challenge now, I would make sure that I have recorded all of the videos, that I have got notes about each day's training and how and why it's valuable. I've got written documentation to support the activities that I'm giving you every day, what the homework is, what the feedback from that homework is. And I would make sure that in the enrollment phase, that everybody knows that the videos that I am delivering are going to be used in the future, okay? Now, if you're doing your challenge inside like a Facebook group, then you're doing it via live stream, and therefore nobody's faces are on it, and you haven't got to worry about, having clients on a video that you're using in a funnel. Okay, so that's probably the best way to do it. Get people into a Facebook group, deliver your training via live stream, save down those live streams, and then use them to build an evergreen funnel. Now, probably the simplest way for me to help you out with this strategy is for you to see it in practice. And the best way to see it in practice would be to head over to my Instagram. My handle is @RachHowarth. Head over to my Instagram and just drop me a DM over there and just put the word sales. That's all you need to say, just sales. And then we've got the little Rach chatbot that will send you out a link to my 22-day sales sprint. Now, the cost, there is a cost to that. It's £2.22. It's on a 99% saving at the moment. We have got an advertising campaign driving cold traffic to that opt-in page, inviting people to buy it for £2.22. So to see it, you are going to have to part with £2.22. But to be honest, if you want to be able to hack my funnel and literally use everything that I use in order to sell my high ticket groups, then it's definitely worth £2.22. And you get 22 days of sales training, right? So DM me the word sales over on Instagram and you'll get to see this in practice. What you will see when you jump into it is that I have packaged up 22 days of sales training so that the audience, people that jump into that sales sprint, they get to see me teach. They get to get a written breakdown every day of what I'm teaching, why I'm teaching it, why it's important, and what the daily activity and daily homework should be for them. Now, 22 days of that packaged into an online course with a sort of a top and tail module. The first module is like the welcome module, how to get started, how to get the best from this sales sprint. And then the closing module is what next? Which of my offers can you come and work with me on next? So when you're thinking about how to sell your group, using a funnel like this is going to give the same energy through those videos that you would give in a live launch. It's going to show the people who have jumped into the evergreen version of it that you delivered this live with a live group, and you can use screenshots, testimonials, little wins and stories and case studies of all the people that came and did that challenge with you. I've got quite a few sprinkled in mine where people are like, oh my God, it's only been 2 hours since I used this and I've already made a sale in my stories. Or, oh my God, Rachel, I used that email that you gave us and it literally converted in a matter of minutes. So all those little wins that you get when you do a live launch, you can use them on your challenge opt-in page. The one key thing that you need to do for this strategy is when you are running your challenge as a live launch, obviously the opt-in page has the date, the time. It should say very clearly, this is a live training, this is a live experience. And so when it's not live, when it is an evergreen, when it is an instant access, you need to remove the date. You need to remove any reference to it being live. And instead, you need to say instant access. So instead of 5-day live challenge, I would say 5-day instant access mini course. Or, instant access program, or, I've packaged up 5 days of training for you so that you can learn how to you get instant access. I always use as well there's always a paragraph on my evergreen challenge pages that says something like, when I ran this challenge live, the feedback was insanely good. The girls got wins by day 3. They were using these strategies and celebrating the outcomes and the transformations. Here's a flavor of all the feedback. And then I have a little area where I give all the screenshots. Okay. So just to recap, to sell your high ticket group using a funnel, we are definitely not going to use a PDF. We're not going to use a checklist or an ebook, however good, however juicy it is. It's not going to work for you. If your group is 3K investment or more, you need to build a funnel that feels to the audience like being in a live challenge with you. That means live training, you on camera, you speaking on the screen, showing your style of teaching, walking them through frameworks, giving them a real sense of who you are, because that is the nearest that they're ever going to get to what it's going to be like inside your group. And once you give them that sense of trust and community and your energy, and they get wins, of course they're going to get wins because you deliver a great challenge. So once they then implement those things, and they will implement those things because they're way more likely to implement when they've seen you deliver it on camera than when they've just read it in a checklist. When they implement and message you going, oh my God, I love that thing that you shared. It's really helped me. I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't just jumped into your 5-day instant access training. Okay. So the first thing you need to do to evergreen your live launch this is the top of the funnel. This is the very first thing, is to leverage the quick wins that you had when you did it live. Make sure that you've got all the right language, using things like instant access, and make sure that you're giving your students a real sense of high vibe community, okay? Because they're going to be way more likely to want to join your group if you've given them that, that real sense of what it's going to be like in your group once they get there. Sorry, just slurping my water because we've got to stay hydrated, girls, haven't we? Step 2 of evergreening your live launch, turning into a funnel, is to get really clear on what is the call to action. So probably when you did your live launch, you invited them to enroll straight into your program. Or maybe you invited them to an application. Maybe you invited them to an application call, some sort of, 30-minute sales call with you. But I wanted to get really clear on what the best customer journey would be to enroll in your group. If you don't want people enrolling in your group that you've never met, then you absolutely need to have a book a call to action, or an application form. What you don't want to do is have a funnel with a button that invites people to just sign up and buy, if you would rather have a qualification process. The worst thing in the world, girls, if you're running group programs, maybe you've had this, I hope you haven't, because it's not a nice feeling, is when somebody enrolls into your group and you're like, yay, so excited, somebody's literally just enrolled from my funnel, brilliant. And then you get onto the first call with them and you realize they're not the right person. The energy's off. Maybe they're there for the wrong reasons. Maybe they thought it was the right space for them, but you can now see that maybe it isn't the right space for them. That just gives you a whole world of pain to deal with, because then you've got to, get that person on a call, ask them questions about where they're at, really figure out for yourself, are they right? Are they not right? And if they're not right, you're going to have to exit them from the program, which means probably giving them a refund, apologizing. And you don't want to have to go through that. I don't want that for you. It's not a nice place to be. So I would say only have a direct enrollment, a direct, here's the button, book, pay, jump into the group. Only have that for membership programs where you don't need to be in close proximity. If your group is a close proximity group, like a group coaching program or like a mastermind, then you want to have a qualification process. You want to be able to jump on a call, or at least have a DM like exchange, maybe share some voice notes with each other, really get a feel for where this person is at, okay? And if you do an application form, you'll be able to read through their questions, really get a sense of what's right for them and maybe what's not right for them, okay? So I want you to get really clear on what the call to action is. Even if in the live launch you had, join us now, here's the link, just jump on in. If you had that from a live launch, doesn't mean you have to have it in your funnel. You can change it to application only. In fact, in making it application only, it actually makes it feel more exclusive, which can be a real plus point, okay? So think about that call to action. Third thing you want to think about is your email sequence will be different, of course. When the live launch was happening, you would be sharing an email sequence very much speaking to a community that you've just led through a live experience. Whereas the email sequence for a funnel to sell your group is, it needs to sort of feel different, because they haven't just been in your energy for 5 days. They've watched you on camera, and you've given them the invitation. So your email sequence is more about nurturing and reminding them that they've got the opportunity to apply. I would still absolutely, tell them about bonuses. I would still share your value stack. I would walk them through exactly what it's going to be like when they get in the group. But the email sequence may take just a little bit of tweaking and adjusting to turn it from the live launch sequence that you used to the evergreen sequence that you will use in a funnel. Okay. And then the fourth and final thing to just like round this off is you also must have a deadline and downsell strategy. So your email sequence should be referencing when is their last opportunity to book the call? When is that final application date if they want to get that application in? And then once that date has passed, you want to invite them to a downsell. So let's just say your group is 5K. You've, given them access to the 5 days of live training from the last challenge that you did. You've evergreened it all up. You've packaged it all up. You've delivered them an email sequence. You've given them the call to action to maybe book a call. You've given them a deadline for that. Once that deadline passes, they're not joining the group. And so you have the opportunity then to sell them something else. So when you think about, what was the result of joining your group? Have you got an offer, maybe like a course, maybe a lower ticket group, something that is a lower investment, lower energy, lower commitment? Maybe this person just isn't quite ready, but you've done all this work to get them into your funnel, to deliver them the email sequence. What you don't now want to do is just go cold on them and let it all, sort of like dissipate into nothing. You want to give them a downsell. So for me, if I was inviting somebody to join a program with me, it's a 5K investment and they're not ready for it, I would be able to sell them one of my courses that's like $297. They're still going to get quarterly live calls with me. They're still going to get some results. It's just not as big a result as the group program would have delivered, but it's also nowhere near as big an investment. Okay. So right at the end of your email sequence, you really want to make sure that you're not just delivering that deadline and then letting it fall off a cliff, that you are going into a little mini downsell as well, so that you have, plan B, you've got a second chance of converting that new potential client into one of your programs. Okay. And breathe. I did that super quick because I know that I know when you're listening to podcasts, you're either like on the move, walking the dog, folding the washing, you're usually doing something. So I've always got it on my mind to keep episodes nice and short, nice and succinct, and easy for you to implement. Okay. So I've given you those 4 steps to turn your last live launch into a sales funnel to sell your high ticket group. The biggest thing I want to remind you of just before we close off is that if you are currently trying to sell your group using a PDF funnel, it isn't going to work, okay? It really isn't. And I want to help you to redesign a funnel. So if you have decided that, you want to work with a funnel strategist, you want to work with a mentor like me, hello, who can help you to build out your funnel, then just message me on Instagram with the word funnel. I'll be able to tell you exactly what that support could look like. It could be that we just do like a power hour together and literally spend 60 minutes mapping out your funnel, and then off you trot. You might want to do a VIP day together where we sit and really get into the detail, build out some pages, write some copy together, script out some videos, and really like spend a whole day working on your funnel. Or you may choose that actually, Rachel, I want your support longer term, in which case building out your funnel either inside my Funnel to Freedom program or inside my mastermind is probably the best fit for you. So yeah, if you have decided that you can't do funnels alone and you want my support, I am absolutely here for it. Let's just start a conversation on Instagram. Just message me the word funnel and we can get into some dialogue. I can share some tips and some voice notes with you and we can go from there. But for now, my lovely, that is it for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, feel free to message me with any topics that you would like me to dive into in future episodes. We keep a schedule that's about 3 months in advance. So if you send me something juicy, it might be that I'm more excited to deliver that and I can like play around with the schedule. So yeah, don't be shy. Message me your favorite topics and I will give you a shout out when I create that episode. But for now, I will finish this week and I will see you next week.